The silence after the siege engine's destruction felt heavier than the thin air of the moon. Maya stood among the glowing remains of her sand formations, while the other students stared at her with new eyes. The human who had been mocked for carrying empty hands had just accomplished what seemed impossible. The rescue ships landed in clouds of silver dust. Captain Velthera flowed out of the first ship, her liquid metal body reflecting the strange lights from Maya's cooling sand reactions. "Explain what happened here," she demanded, but her voice lacked its usual coldness. Crystal floated weakly beside the wreckage of the siege engine. "The human destroyed it using sand and fire." His mental voice carried wonder instead of mockery. "She turned the moon's own materials into weapons more powerful than anything we possess." Captain Velthara examined the melted metal that had once been an invincible war machine. "This armor was designed to withstand planet-killing weapons. How could simple chemical reactions penetrate it?" Maya knelt down and scooped up a handful of the strange sand. "The armor was built to stop energy attacks from outside," she explained. "But my reactions happened right against its surface, sometimes inside small cracks and joints. The heat was focused and intense, like having a star's core touching the metal directly." Professor Thrandox, the tree creature who taught engineering, rustled his leaves with what Maya now recognized as deep thought. "Remarkable. You achieved what our most advanced laboratories require complex equipment to accomplish, using only materials you found on the ground." "That's because your advanced laboratories forgot that all technology starts with basic science," Maya replied. "Your plasma weapons work by heating gas until it becomes energy. I just heated different materials in different ways to get the same result." General Cormath, the massive rock creature who had called her fighting style primitive, stood among the wreckage shaking his huge head. "I have fought in 100 battles across the galaxy," he rumbled. "I have seen weapons that could crack moons and shields that could stop supernovas. But I have never seen anything like this." "What do you mean?" asked Vexara, her green scales still trembling from the recent battle. "She fought like a true warrior," General Cormath said, looking directly at Maya. "Not relying on technology or special powers, but using intelligence, preparation, and understanding of her environment. This is what combat looked like before we became dependent on our machines." Maya stood up and brushed the sand from her hands. "I'm not against advanced technology," she said, "but technology should be a tool that helps you think, not a replacement for thinking." The group made their way back to the transport ships. As they flew through space toward the academy, Maya noticed how the other students looked at her now. The mockery was gone, replaced by curiosity and respect. Thrumdock, the rock creature who had always been kind to her, moved his massive bulk closer to her seat. "Maya," he said in his grinding voice, "would you teach me some of these techniques? My people are strong, but we have grown lazy with our natural abilities." "I'd be happy to," Maya replied. "But first you need to understand that it's not about techniques. It's about seeing the connections between things." "What do you mean?" Maya pointed out the window at the stars. "Every star out there is a giant fusion reactor, turning simple hydrogen into energy. Your plasma weapons work the same way, just smaller. If you understand how stars work, you can understand how to make better weapons, or better power sources, or better ways to travel between stars." More students gathered around to listen. Even Crystal floated closer, his mental shields down for the first time since Maya had known him. "You think differently than we do," he said in her mind. "We see a plasma weapon as a tool to shoot enemies. You see it as an example of how the universe works." "Exactly," Maya said. When you understand the principles, you can apply them anywhere. The same fusion reaction that powers a weapon can power a city. The same gravity that holds planets together can be used to travel between them. Captain Velthara, who was piloting the ship, turned her liquid metal head toward the conversation. "Is this how all humans think?" she asked. "Humans had to think this way to survive," Maya explained. "Our home planet was dangerous, and we didn't have natural weapons or abilities like other species. We had to understand everything around us and use it as a tool. Fire, water, wind, lightning. We learned to make all the forces of nature work for us." "But surely you admire our advanced abilities?" asked one of the crystal beings, its body flickering with curiosity. Maya considered this carefully. "Your abilities are amazing," she said, "but they might also be limiting you. Crystal can move things with his mind, so he never learned to build machines that move things. The crystal beings can store energy in their bodies, so they never learned to build better batteries. You're all so gifted that you stopped learning." The ship fell quiet as the aliens thought about this. They had always seen their natural abilities as advantages. Maya was suggesting they might also be weaknesses. "So what do you suggest?" asked Vexara. "Learn like humans learn," Maya said. "Question everything. Take things apart to see how they work. Try new combinations. Fail a lot, because failure teaches you things that success never can." When they arrived at the academy, word of Maya's victory had already spread. Students and teachers lined the corridors to watch her pass. Some pointed and whispered. Others just stared. Commander Zethvar met them in the main hall. His forearms were folded, and his compound eyes focused entirely on Maya. "Student Rodriguez," he said, his voice translated into cold, mechanical words. "Your performance in the Crucible Wastes has caused quite a stir among the faculty." "Yes, sir," Maya replied simply. "You destroyed a siege engine that has survived for thousands of years. You did this using no advanced technology, no special powers, and no weapons except what you could find in the sand." "Yes, sir." Commander Zethvar moved closer, his insect-like head tilting as he studied her. "How?" Maya had answered this question several times already, but she could see that the commander needed to hear it directly. "I studied the moon's geology and chemistry. I learned what materials were available and how they could react with each other. I used basic physics and chemistry to create controlled energy releases." "You're saying any student could have done what you did?" "Any student who understood the science behind it, yes, sir." The commander's translator made clicking sounds as he processed this. "But none of our students have such knowledge. They rely on their natural abilities or advanced technology." "Then maybe they should learn," Maya said quietly. The hall buzzed with conversation as students and teachers discussed her words. Maya could hear arguments starting in several different languages. Commander Zethvar raised one of his arms for silence. "Student Rodriguez, you will be transferred to our Advanced Tactical Development Program immediately. You will also begin teaching a new course." "Teaching, sir?" "Fundamental Applications of Universal Principles," the commander announced. "You will teach any student who wishes to learn how to fight using basic science instead of advanced technology." Maya blinked in surprise. "I'm not qualified to be a teacher, sir." "You just defeated a siege engine using sand and rocks," General Cormath rumbled from behind her. "I'd say you're qualified." Over the following weeks, Maya's life at the academy changed completely. Instead of being the primitive human who didn't belong, she became the teacher everyone wanted to learn from. Her classes were always full. Alien students who had mocked her primitive methods now asked her to show them how to build weapons from common materials. She taught them chemistry, physics, and engineering, the basic sciences their advanced civilizations had stopped teaching. Crystal was one of her best students. His mental powers let him visualize chemical reactions in ways that amazed even Maya. "I never realized how beautiful science could be," he told her after a lesson on crystalline structures. "When you understand how atoms fit together, it's like seeing the hidden music of the universe." Vexara learned to analyze the molecular structure of different materials and predict how they would react under various conditions. "My people have always relied on our natural plasma abilities," she said. "But now I can create plasma reactions that are far more precise than anything my body can produce." Even Thrumdock, despite his massive size, became skilled at delicate chemical work. "Rock creatures are supposed to be crude and simple," he laughed during one lab session. "But understanding geology and chemistry makes me feel more connected to stone than ever before." Maya's greatest success was with Professor Thrandox. The tree creature had been teaching engineering for decades, but Maya's approach to problem-solving revolutionized his thinking. "I have been teaching students to use our most advanced tools," he admitted after watching Maya's students build complex machines from scrap materials. "But you teach them to understand the principles behind the tools. Your students can create new solutions I never imagined." The other faculty members were less enthusiastic about the changes Maya brought. Some complained that she was undermining the Academy's focus on advanced technology. Others worried that her emphasis on basic science was too primitive for elite warriors. But the results spoke for themselves. Students who took Maya's classes performed better in all their other courses. They found creative solutions too. The third day brought the worst challenge yet. Maya woke to the sound of heavy footsteps shaking the ground. Through her simple telescope, she saw something that made her blood run cold. A siege engine from the ancient wars had awakened. It was as tall as a building and twice as long. Its metal hull was covered in weapons that could level mountains. 8 massive legs carried it across the desert like a mechanical spider. The machine had been sleeping in the sand for thousands of years. Something had woken it up, and now it was hunting the remaining students. Maya listened to the panic on the radio channels. "It's impossible to destroy," shouted Vexara. Her voice was full of fear. "Our weapons can't even scratch its armor." 3 students have been eliminated already, reported Thrumdock. "The rescue ships can't get close because of its defense systems." "We need to work together," came Crystal's mental voice. "All remaining students converge on my position. We'll combine our attacks." Maya watched through her telescope as the surviving students gathered on a ridge near the siege engine. Crystal floated in the center, his mental powers weak but still working. Vexara crouched beside him, her plasma claws ready. Thrumdock stood like a mountain of living rock. 2 crystal beings flickered with stored energy. They attacked together. Plasma beams, energy bolts, psychic blasts, and massive thrown rocks all struck the siege engine at once. The combined firepower was impressive, but it barely left marks on the ancient armor. The siege engine turned toward them, its weapons charging with deadly light. Maya was too far away to help directly, but she had been working all morning on something the others could not see. Around her position, she had arranged hundreds of small piles of sand. Each pile was different, sorted by mineral content and particle size. To anyone watching, it looked like the work of someone who had gone crazy from the stress. Maya appeared to be playing in the dirt while her classmates fought for their lives, but Maya knew exactly what she was doing. She had spent 2 days studying this moon's sand, learning its secrets. She had discovered something the aliens had forgotten in their rush toward advanced technology. Every grain of sand was a potential weapon if you knew how to use it. The siege engine fired its main cannon. A beam of pure energy cut across the desert, missing the students by meters and leaving a line of melted glass in the sand. "We can't hurt it!" Vexara's voice cracked with desperation. "Its armor is too strong." "Fall back," ordered Crystal. "We need a new plan." But there was nowhere to run. The siege engine moved faster than any of them could travel. Its sensors could track them across the entire moon. It was only a matter of time before it destroyed them all. Maya stood up in her field of sand piles. She pulled out 2 pieces of metal from her pack and struck them together. A single small spark fell onto one of her carefully arranged sand formations. The spark landed on a mixture of iron oxide and aluminum powder. The thermite reaction began instantly, burning at over 4,000 degrees. But Maya had done more than just mix thermite. She had arranged the burning sand in precise geometric patterns. As the thermite burned, it heated other sand mixtures around it. Crystalline silicon formations focused the heat into narrow beams. Radioactive particles underwent controlled reactions when heated to the right temperature. What started as a small spark became a cascade of chemical reactions spreading across Maya's sand field. Each pile was designed to trigger the next one in a specific sequence. Fire erupted from the sand around Maya's position. But this was not ordinary fire. Streams of white-hot plasma shot into the air like liquid starlight. Focused energy beams cut through the thin atmosphere. Controlled explosions sent jets of superheated gas in precise directions. Maya had turned a simple field of sand into a weapon that would have impressed the galaxy's best military engineers. The siege engine detected the massive energy readings and turned toward Maya's position. Its sensors could not understand what they were seeing. The attacks appeared to be coming from empty sand, but they registered as military-grade plasma weapons. Maya stood calmly in the center of her sand formation as streams of fire danced around her. She had calculated every reaction, planned every beam. The plasma streams missed her by inches, following paths she had designed into the sand patterns. The siege engine fired at her position. Its energy beam struck one of Maya's sand piles and was absorbed by specially prepared silicon crystals. The crystals superheated and exploded, sending a focused beam of energy right back at the machine. For the first time in the battle, the siege engine's armor showed damage. Maya struck her flints again, lighting another section of her sand field. More plasma streams erupted, these ones aimed at the siege engine's weak points. The ancient machine had been designed to fight other war machines with predictable weapons. It had no defense against attacks that seemed to come from the ground itself. Plasma beams cut through the siege engine's leg joints. Thermite reactions melted its weapon systems. Focused explosions damaged its sensor arrays. Maya had found every vulnerable spot and targeted it with scientific precision. The other students watched in amazement as the human girl fought the massive war machine using nothing but sand and fire. "How is she doing that?" Vexara whispered. "Over the radio." "The sand," said Crystal, his mental voice full of wonder. "She's using the moon's own materials as weapons. Every grain of sand is part of her attack system." Thrumdock laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "The primitive has become the most advanced warrior among us." The siege engine tried to retreat, but Maya had prepared for that too. Her sand formations covered a wide area, and new reactions began wherever the machine stepped. The entire desert around her position had become a minefield of chemical weapons. The ancient war machine stumbled as plasma cut through another leg joint. Its massive body crashed to the sand, sending up clouds of silver dust. Maya lit one final reaction. This one was her masterpiece, a combination of every type of sand she had collected, arranged in a pattern that would create the most intense energy release possible. A column of pure plasma erupted from the sand and struck the siege engine's power core. The machine's own energy fed the reaction, making it stronger. In seconds, the core overloaded and exploded. The siege engine died in a cascade of secondary explosions, its wreckage scattered across the desert, already being buried by the shifting sands. Maya stood in the center of her sand formation as the last flames died down. Her simple clothes were dirty but undamaged. Her empty hands had destroyed what the combined advanced weapons of her classmates could not touch. The radio channels were silent for a long moment. Then Commander Zethvar's voice crackled over the emergency frequency. "All students, report immediately. We are detecting impossible energy readings from the test area." "Commander," Maya said calmly, "this is Student Rodriguez. The siege engine has been neutralized. Explain how this was accomplished." "I used controlled chemical reactions in the local silicon sand to create directed energy weapons. The materials were already here. I just had to arrange them properly." The pause that followed seemed to last forever. "You destroyed a siege engine using sand?" "Yes, sir. Basic chemistry and physics. The same principles that power our starships, just applied more directly." When the rescue ships arrived, they found Maya sitting quietly beside her backpack, sorting through rock samples. Around her, the sand still glowed with residual heat from the chemical reactions. The other students gathered around her, their attitudes completely changed. The mockery was gone, replaced by something close to awe. "I owe you an apology," Crickstall said, his mental voice humble. "We called you primitive, but you've shown us something we had forgotten." "What's that?" Maya asked. "That understanding the basics is more powerful than any advanced technology." Vexara nodded, her scales shimmering in the strange light. "You turned empty sand into weapons that could destroy anything. How did you learn to do that?" Maya smiled and picked up a handful of sand, letting it run through her fingers. "I learned by paying attention. Every grain of sand is made of atoms. Every atom has energy locked inside it. If you know how to unlock that energy, you can do anything." She looked at each of her classmates in turn. "Your people developed amazing technology, but you forgot why it works. You press buttons without understanding what happens inside the machines. That makes you dependent on the technology." "And humans aren't dependent?" asked Thrumdock. "Humans learn to survive on a dangerous world without any natural advantages," Maya replied. "We had to understand everything around us to stay alive. We learned that knowledge is the only tool that never breaks." The transport ships lifted them off the moon's surface. As they rose into space, Maya looked back at the battlefield where she had turned sand into starfire. The other students were quiet, each thinking about what they had witnessed. The human with empty hands had defeated what none of their advanced weapons could touch. Commander Zethvar's voice came over the ship's communication system. "Student Rodriguez, upon return to the Academy, you will be transferred to our Advanced Tactical Development Program. It appears humanity has much to teach us about creative applications of scientific principles." Maya nodded but said nothing. She had not come to the academy to prove humans were superior to aliens. She had come to learn, and she had learned something important. The galaxy was full of. The big test came at the middle of the school term. Commander Zethvar called all the students to the main hall. His 4 arms moved as he talked, and his big bug eyes looked at each student. "You will now face the crucible wastes," he announced. "This is the most dangerous test we have. You will be dropped alone on Zarian Prime's largest moon. You must survive for 3 days while completing several missions." The hall filled with excited voices in many different languages. Maya listened as the commander explained the rules. The moon is a desert of silicon sand. Methane storms rage across the surface. Strange gravity effects make technology fail without warning. Many of you will not complete this test. Some may not survive it. Maya studied the information about the moon on her data pad. While other students looked at what weapons to bring, Maya read about the moon's rocks, air, and weather patterns. The silicon sand contained traces of many different metals. The thin atmosphere had unusual gases. The gravity was weak but changed in different areas. Most importantly, strong electromagnetic fields covered the moon's surface, making most advanced technology work poorly or not at all. Other students prepared by choosing their best energy weapons and defense systems. The crystal beings charged their internal power sources. The snake people selected their most advanced time manipulation devices. The tree creatures grew extra armor on their bodies. Maya packed her simple backpack with basic tools, some rope, and containers for collecting things. She also took small samples of different rocks and minerals from the Academy's geology lab. "What are those for?" asked Vexara, a snake student who had started talking to Maya more often. Her scales were bright green and her eyes glowed with inner light. "Backup plans," Maya said simply. "Backup plans for what?" "For when the main plans don't work. The transport ships took the students to the moon." Maya looked out the window as they flew over the wasteland below. It looked like a sea of silver sand under a black sky. Strange rock formations stuck up like broken teeth. In the distance, methane storms swirled like silver tornadoes. "Doesn't look very welcoming," said Thrumdock, a massive rock creature who sat near Maya. He was one of the few aliens who had been kind to her from the beginning. "It's just another environment," Maya replied. "Every environment has rules. Learn the rules, and you can survive anywhere." The ships dropped the students at different locations across the moon's surface. Maya watched the other students disappear into the silver landscape, their energy shields glowing like small suns in the darkness. Maya's drop point was near a cluster of tall rock spires. She landed softly and immediately began examining her surroundings. The air was thin but breathable with her mask. The gravity was about half of Earth normal, making her feel light and quick. She set up a simple shelter between 2 rock walls, using her cloth and rope to create a windbreak. Then she began collecting sand samples, sorting them by color and texture. Each type contained different minerals that might be useful later. The first night was brutal. A methane storm swept across the area, bringing high winds and strange lightning. Maya huddled in her shelter and listened to the comm channels as other students struggled. "My energy shield is failing," came Crystal's mental voice over the radio. "The electromagnetic interference is too strong." "My plasma weapons are only working at half power," reported Vexara. "Something about this place is draining our technology." "Emergency pickup requested," called another voice. "My life support system has malfunctioned." Maya listened but did not call for help. Her simple shelter held against the storm. Her chemical heat sources kept her warm. She had prepared for technology to fail, so the electromagnetic fields did not bother her. On the second day, she began exploring the area around her shelter. The first mission was to reach a beacon located 10 kilometers away. Most students were flying toward it using anti-gravity devices or energy transportation. Maya walked. It took longer, but walking let her study the terrain and collect more samples. She noticed that the sand in different areas had different properties. Some areas were rich in iron particles. Others contained aluminum compounds. A few spots had traces of radioactive materials. She met Crickstall halfway to the beacon. The purple alien was floating weakly, his mental powers clearly strained by the moon's strange effects. Still playing in the dirt? Primitive? His mental voice was much weaker than usual. Maya knelt down and scooped up a handful of sand. "This dirt has iron oxide and aluminum powder mixed together," she said. "Do you know what happens when you heat those two things together?" Crickstall did not answer. Maya could see he was tired and struggling. "They make thermite," Maya continued. "One of the hottest chemical reactions humans know. Hot enough to cut through almost anything." She showed Crickstall her collection bags. "I've been mapping where different materials are located. When I need heat, light, or energy, I know exactly where to find the ingredients to make them." "You plan to make weapons from sand?" Crickstall's mental voice carried a note of disbelief. "I plan to make whatever I need from whatever I can find," Maya replied. "That's what humans do." She helped Crickstall reach the beacon, sharing her water and giving him directions to areas where the electromagnetic interference was weaker. The alien looked at her strangely as they parted ways. The second mission was to disable a security drone that had been left behind from old wars. The drone was the size of a car and heavily armored. It shot energy bolts at anything that moved. Maya watched from hiding as other students attacked it. Vexara tried her plasma claws, but they barely scratched the armor. Thrumdock threw massive rocks, but the drone's shields deflected them. A crystal being tried to overload it with energy, but the drone absorbed the power and became stronger. While they fought, Maya studied the drone's behavior. It had sensors that detected movement and heat. Its armor was strong against energy weapons, but designed for attacks from the front and sides. The bottom was less protected. Maya began digging. She used her simple tools to create a tunnel that led under the drone's patrol area. It took hours of careful work, but she was patient. She filled containers with her carefully collected sand mixtures. Iron oxide and aluminum powder in one container. Crystalline silicon formations in another. A small amount of radioactive dust. In a third container, sealed safely in lead sheeting she had found in some old equipment. When night fell, Maya crawled through her tunnel until she was directly under the drone. She arranged her materials in a specific pattern, each type of sand placed with scientific precision. The other students had given up attacking the drone and were looking for ways around it. They did not see Maya emerge from her tunnel behind the machine. She struck two pieces of flint together, creating a small spark that fell onto her sand mixture. What happened next amazed everyone watching. The sand began to glow and burn, but not with normal fire. Chemical reactions spread through Maya's carefully arranged materials. The iron oxide and aluminum created thermite that burned at over 4,000 degrees. The crystalline silicon focused the heat into narrow beams of incredible intensity. Streams of white-hot plasma erupted from the sand, cutting through the drone's armor like it was made of paper. The machine's shields could not stop attacks that came from common sand. Its sensors could not track weapons that looked like empty ground. The drone collapsed in a shower of sparks and molten metal. Maya stood in the middle of the destruction, surrounded by glowing sand that slowly cooled in the thin air. The comm channels erupted with voices. "What just happened?" demanded Vexara. "How did she destroy it?" asked Thrumdock. "The human made weapons from dirt." Krickstol's mental voice was full of wonder. She turned sand into plasma beams. Maya collected her tools and started walking toward the third mission point. Over the radio, she said simply, "Every advanced weapon works on basic principles. If you understand the principles, you can build the weapons from whatever materials you find." Behind her, the other students gathered around the destroyed drone, trying to understand how sand had accomplished what their advanced technology could not. Commander Zethvar's voice came over the emergency channel. "All students report status. We detected massive energy discharges from the security drone location." "The drone has been neutralized," reported Krickstol. "Impossible. Our sensors show no weapons discharge from any student position." "Commander," Maya said calmly, "this is Student Rodriguez. I used available materials to create directed energy weapons from local resources." The silence that followed lasted a long time. "Explain," came the terse reply. "The sand contains iron oxide, aluminum, powder, crystalline silicon, and radioactive traces. I used chemical reactions and basic physics to create plasma streams and focused energy beams." Another long pause. "You created military-grade weapons from sand?" "Yes, sir. The same science that powers our starships exists everywhere in the universe. You just need to know how to use it." Maya continued toward the final mission, leaving the other students to wonder what else the primitive human might be capable of. They had laughed at her empty hands, but now they were beginning to understand that Maya Rodriguez's hands were never really empty. They carried something far more dangerous than any weapon: the knowledge of how to turn anything into a weapon. The Thei. Third day would bring the greatest test yet, and Maya was ready. She had turned sand into plasma, dirt. The first weeks at the academy were hard for Maya. Every day brought new lessons that showed how different she was from the other students. While they used amazing technology, she had to find other ways to solve problems. In weapons class, the students had to hit targets that floated in the air. The targets moved fast and changed direction without warning. Most students used plasma guns that shot beams of super-hot energy. Others used mind power to make the targets explode from the inside. Maya picked up small rocks from the ground. She put one rock in a piece of cloth and twisted it into a sling. Then she spun it around her head and let the rock fly. It hit the target with a loud crack. The other students stopped what they were doing to stare. Krickstol floated over with a group of his friends. "Did the primitive just throw a rock?" his voice said in everyone's mind. The other aliens made their laughing sounds. "It worked," Maya said simply. She picked up another rock and hit a second target. Captain Velthara flowed over to watch. She was made of liquid metal and taught the weapons class. Her body moved like water, but her voice was sharp and cold. "Student Rodriguez," she said, "your method is very basic. The other students are learning to use advanced energy weapons. You are playing with stones like a child." "The targets are still getting hit," Maya replied. "Yes, but anyone can throw rocks. We are training elite warriors here. You need to use technology that can work in space battles and on alien worlds." Maya nodded, but she kept using her sling. It never missed. While other students sometimes failed to hit their targets with fancy weapons, Maya's simple rocks always found their mark. In engineering class, the students had to build machines that could lift heavy objects. The aliens used anti-gravity devices and energy fields. Their machines floated in the air and glowed with power. Maya found some metal pieces and rope. She built a simple pulley system using wheels and levers. It looked crude next to the floating machines, but it lifted just as much weight. "Fascinating," said Professor Thrandox, a tree creature who taught engineering. "You have built a machine that uses only mechanical force. No energy source needed." "Sometimes simple is better," Maya said. "This won't break if the power goes out." The Thei Professor's leaves rustled with what might have been approval, but the other students just saw another example of human backwardness. Combat training was the worst. The alien students could do amazing things. The crystal beings could become invisible or pass through walls. The snake people could slow down time around them. The tree creatures could grow armor from their own bodies. Maya had to dodge, roll, and hide behind things. She used whatever she could find as weapons. A broken piece of metal became a knife. Chemicals from the cleaning closet became smoke bombs when mixed together. Wire and springs became traps. The instructor was a massive rock creature named General Cormath. He had fought in 100 space wars and never lost a battle. His body was covered in scars from energy weapons. "Human!" he roared during one training session. "You fight like a scavenger using garbage as weapons. Where is your honor? Where is your power?" Maya had just used a makeshift explosive to knock down 3 alien students at once. She had made it from soap, metal shavings, and some acid she found in the lab. "I fight to win," she said. "Winning is not enough." General Cormath slammed his huge fist on the ground. "A warrior must have style, grace. You fight like an animal." But Maya noticed something the general did not say. She was winning. Her primitive methods worked against the advanced aliens more often than their own high-tech weapons worked against each other. Late at night, when the other students were sleeping, Maya studied. She read everything she could find about physics, chemistry, and engineering. The Academy's computer had information about every world in the galaxy, every type of technology ever invented. Maya learned that all the fancy alien weapons worked on simple principles. Plasma guns were just controlled explosions. Energy shields used magnetic fields. Anti-gravity devices pushed against the planet's natural forces. The aliens had forgotten the basic science behind their tools. They just pressed buttons and expected things to work. But Maya understood how everything worked, from the ground up. In survival class, each student had to spend 3 days alone in a dangerous environment. The testing area was a hot desert with poisonous plants and dangerous animals. Most students brought energy shields, food makers, and climate control suits. Maya brought her backpack with simple tools, some rope, and a water bottle. The other students set up high-tech camps with force fields and automatic defense systems. Maya dug a hole in the ground and covered it with rocks and cloth. She found water by following animal tracks to a hidden spring. She made fire by rubbing sticks together. When a pack of dangerous lizard creatures attacked the camp area, most students relied on their energy weapons, but the weapons overheated in the desert sun and stopped working. Maya had prepared traps around her simple shelter. When the lizards came, they fell into hidden pits and got caught in rope snares. She did not need to fight them. She just had to be smarter than they were. Captain Velthara found Maya on the 3rd day, sitting by a small fire and eating fruit she had found in the desert. "Your shelter is very basic," the liquid metal teacher said. But you seem comfortable. It keeps me cool in the day and warm at night, Maya replied. Sometimes basic is all you need. The other students had to be rescued when their equipment failed. You seem to have had no problems at all. Maya shrugged. I planned for things to go wrong. They planned for everything to work perfectly. Back at the academy, Maya's reputation began to change. The other students still thought she was primitive, but they also started to respect her results. She passed every test, even though she used methods that seemed impossible. Crickstall approached her in the dining hall one evening. His mental voice was less mocking than before. I do not understand you, human, he said in her mind. You have no special powers, no advanced technology, yet you succeed where others fail. How? Maya looked at the purple alien. I pay attention, she said. I watch how things work. I learn from mistakes, and I never assume that the fancy way is the best way. But surely you wish you had our abilities, the power to move objects with thought, to bend energy to your will. Maya considered this. Your powers are impressive, she said finally, but they make you lazy. You use your mind to lift a rock instead of building a machine that can lift a mountain. You shoot energy at problems instead of finding ways to avoid the problems in the first place. Crickstall was quiet for a long moment. Other aliens had gathered to listen to their conversation. You think we are weak, he said. I think you have forgotten how to be strong, Maya replied. The dining hall fell silent. No one had ever criticized the advanced aliens like this before. Everyone expected Crickstall to become angry and use his mental powers to punish the human. Instead, he just floated there, thinking about her words. Perhaps, he said finally, there are things we could learn from each other, Maya smiled. It was the first time any alien had suggested that humans might have something to teach them. But she knew the real test was still coming. Soon they would face challenges where simple methods might not be enough. The other students were getting better at using their advanced abilities, while Maya was still limited by what she could build with her own two hands. The academy was preparing them for something big. Maya could feel it in the way the instructors talked, in the types of lessons they were learning. Some kind of final test that would separate the elite warriors from everyone else. Maya spent her evenings preparing, not with weapons or technology, but with knowledge. She studied the physics of every alien device she had seen. She learned the chemistry of different worlds and atmospheres. She memorized the properties of metals, crystals, and organic compounds. The other students thought she was just a primitive human who got lucky. Soon they would learn that Maya Rodriguez was something much more dangerous than that. She was a human who understood exactly how the universe worked. Maya Rodriguez stepped off the small transport ship. Her boots touched the smooth, clear floor of the space station. The place was huge. Tall buildings reached up toward 3 purple suns in the sky. Everything glowed with strange lights and made soft humming sounds. This was the Galactic Military Academy on Zerion Prime. It was the best war school in all of known space. Students came here from hundreds of different worlds to learn how to fight with the most advanced weapons in the universe. Maya looked around at her new classmates. They were not human. Some looked like giant bugs with 4 arms and big round eyes. Others were like walking trees with green leaves for hair. A few seemed to be made of light, trapped inside clear crystal shells. There were snake people with scales and long tails. Some floated in the air without touching the ground. All of them carried amazing weapons and tools. The bug creatures had plasma guns that could melt metal. The tree people grew weapons from their own bodies. The light beings could shoot energy from their hands. The snake people had devices that could bend space and time. Maya carried only a simple backpack. Inside were basic tools, some food, and a water bottle. No fancy weapons, no energy shields, no flying machines, just simple human things. The other students stared at her. Some made sounds that might have been laughter. Others whispered to each other in languages she could not understand. Maya felt their eyes on her empty hands. A huge bug creature walked to the front of the group. It had 4 arms and eyes like a fly. When it spoke, a small machine changed its bug sounds into words Maya could understand. "I am Commander Zethvar," the bug said. "Welcome to the best military school in space. Here you will learn to use the forces of the universe as weapons. You will control matter and energy with your mind. Those who cannot learn our advanced ways will go home in shame." The commander looked right at Maya when he said the last part. His big eyes showed no kindness. Near Maya, a purple alien floated without touching the ground. It had a big head and no hair. Suddenly, Maya heard a voice inside her mind. It was the purple alien speaking without moving its mouth. "Look at the primitive earth creature," the voice said in her head. "She brings nothing but rocks and sticks to a school of advanced warfare. This will be fun to watch." The purple alien's name was Crystal. Maya had read about his kind before coming here. They could speak directly into other people's minds and move things without touching them. More aliens gathered around to look at Maya. A being made of liquid metal flowed closer. Its body moved like water, but kept the shape of a person. "What weapons do you carry, human?" the metal being asked. Its voice sounded like water flowing over rocks. "I don't have weapons," Maya said. "I have tools." This made many aliens make their laughing sounds. The crystal beings flickered like broken lights. The snake people hissed and showed their sharp teeth. "Tools?" said a tree creature. Its voice was like wind through leaves. "What can simple tools do against plasma cannons and energy shields?" Maya did not answer. She had learned it was better to watch and listen than to argue. The commander bug raised one of his 4 arms. "Enough talk. Follow me to your rooms. Tomorrow your real education begins. You will learn why this academy produces the greatest warriors in the galaxy." The group moved through long hallways. The walls showed pictures of great battles from across space. Maya saw human soldiers in some of the old pictures, but they were always in the background. Humans were new to space war. Most aliens thought they were too simple and weak to matter. In the dining hall, Maya sat alone. The food machines gave her something that looked like soup, but tasted like metal. Around her, the alien students showed off their abilities. The crystal beings made light shows with their bodies. The snake people made small black holes appear and disappear. The tree creatures grew flowers and fruit from their arms. Crystal floated over to Maya's table. Other aliens followed him. They formed a circle around her. "Tell us, primitive," Crystal's voice said in her mind. "How does your backward species plan to survive in a galaxy of advanced beings? Your people have only just learned to travel between stars. We have been doing this for thousands of years." Maya looked up from her strange soup. "We learn by watching," she said simply. "Watching." The metal being laughed and its body rippled like water. "You cannot watch your way to victory in battle. You need power. You need advanced technology. You need evolution beyond your crude physical form." "Maybe," Maya said. She went back to eating her soup. This made the aliens angry. They expected her to be afraid or to argue with them. Instead, she just sat there, calm and quiet. "Your species disgusts me," hissed a snake creature. "You are nothing but animals who learn to use fire. You do not belong here among real warriors." Maya finished her soup and stood up. She looked at each alien in turn. They were all bigger than her, stronger than her, and had abilities she would never have. But something in her eyes made them step back. "You might be right," Maya said. "But I'm here now, so I guess we'll find out." She walked away from the group, leaving them confused and a little worried. There was something about the small human that they did not understand. Something that made them feel less sure of themselves. That night, Maya lay in her small room looking out at the purple suns. Tomorrow would bring her first real test. She knew the aliens expected her to fail. They wanted her to give up and go home to Earth, but Maya had not come this far to quit. She had been chosen from millions of humans to represent her species. She carried the hopes of her entire world on her shoulders. She closed her eyes and thought about home. Earth seemed very far away now, but she remembered why she was here. Humans needed to learn. They needed to prove they belonged among the stars. Thei, aliens could keep their fancy weapons and their advanced technology. Maya had something they had forgotten about. She had the one thing that had made humans survive and grow on a dangerous world. She had the ability to solve problems with whatever she could find around her. Tomorrow, she would start showing them what that meant. Outside her window, the purple suns set behind the tall buildings of the academy. In the distance, training machines flew through the air, practicing for the next day's lessons. Maya smiled and went to sleep. Let the aliens laugh at her empty hands. Soon enough, they would see what those hands could do.